Hello everyone, so first things first, happy Valentine's Day.
That was last month.
Happy late Valentine's Day. For all my male viewers watching this video right now, I bet you've spent your Valentine's Day like you do every day, beating your bananas as you watch your favorite X video. Or for my female viewers, putting your fingers in your papayas. Ooh, jeez. Where the hell have you been? Even though it's the month of love,
That was last month.
the love towards Sonic Prime varies depending on which Sonic fan you talk to. When this show was first announced, it was met with praise across the board. This series is no stranger to being in a TV show, and with the details of a new voice cast, concept art, and the plot of the show being revealed, there was no denying that this show had all the hype leading into it. Fast forward to the final episode of the series, and well, trash. The hype this show once had leading into it was nothing more than a memory of when it ended in 2024. Or this was the best Sonic TV show you've ever seen in your lives. Again, depending on which Sonic fan you ask, we're a very divisive community. Shocker, shocker. So what were my thoughts on Sonic Prime? Well, if you were to ask me that question when the show ended in 2024, however, that was then. This is now. Maybe I should rewatch this show again. Maybe I should make a review about it. Maybe you should hit that like and subscribe button if you're enjoying this video. I'm willing to give this show a second chance. No memes, no bitter attitude towards it. This is my full honest review of Sonic Prime.
Episode 1.
We start off the first episode with Sonic narrating to the audience about his friends and his home in Green Hill. I hope you like that F word a lot because Sonic sure as hell does, as we're gonna hear that word a lot throughout this series. Another word we're gonna hear a lot is the Paradox Prism, as Eggman is trying to pull it out of the ground. Sonic, ignoring his ally's advice, shatters it into 5 pieces, and then we get Sonic landing into one of the 5 worlds in this series, New York. That's honestly a funny play on words there because Eggman, New York. Okay, moving on. We then get a good chase scene with Sonic getting into a scuffle with some of the badniks while trying to adjust to his glitchy shoes. Actually, now that I get a good look at them, they actually look like Bright Up Skechers. Wouldn't that have been great to sell to children? Sonic then starts to piece together the city with his home and realizes that it is his home, but in a new world. Overwhelmed by this and wanting to look for answers, Sonic then searches for the smartest guy he knows. The smartest guy he knows that isn't an evil asshole. Yeah, there you go. But before he can do that, he's caught off guard by Eggman, or at least a 9-month-old Eggman. What the fuck is this baby's name again? Dr. Babel. Really fucking creative, guys. After escaping from Dr. Babel and his giant mech suit, we then get a glimpse of 2 assistant members. Sally Acorn? No, it's not Sally. They baited you again. I'm sorry. Damn it.
Come on, Sega. Bring her back.
Sonic eventually finds Tails, only to later learn after a good little fight scene and some good character interaction between the two, that this is Nine. A different version of Tails Sonic once knew. A 9-tailed fox. Where have I heard that before? Let me just say that I love this version of Tails, from his voice actor, general personality, and his design. With how New York is and his upbringing, it's an interesting twist to the Tails character we're all familiar with. After gaining his trust, Nine helps out Sonic and designs a device to help Sonic's energy from the Paradox Prism from going wild. It's not long after that the pair gets captured by Dr. Babel and gets taken back to his headquarters. It's here we get introduced to not only the best version of Amy in this show, Rusty Rose, but more importantly, to the Chaos Council. 5 Eggmans, and one of them is a fucking infant. Nonetheless, this was a pretty good first episode. Lots of intrigue within it that makes me, as the viewer, wanting to see more.
Episode 2.
The Chaos Council experimented on Sonic and tested his abilities within their lab. As this is happening, the leader of the Freedom Fighters, Princess Sally, the leader of the Resistance, Rebel Rouge, alongside with Rebel Knuckles, race into Eggman's headquarters to help Sonic. We then get a nice little backstory of Rebel Rouge and Rebel Knuckles and how New York came to be. I do find it adorable how Rouge was sleeping like a real Batwood in this scene. Like, I just find it to be so cute. This was a nice scene to showcase what the two are fighting for. For freedom. For a better tomorrow. For fuck's sakes. This is just the Freedom Fighters again, but with a new coat of paint. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know much about the Freedom Fighters. I didn't grow up reading the Archie Sonic comics. But man, I can just imagine fans of that series being annoyed watching essentially a discount version of the original Freedom Fighters. After finishing up his testing, the Chaos Council wants to go even further by dissecting Sonic. Luckily, the Diet Freedom Fighters came in and ruined everything, setting Sonic and Nine free, and then a whole fight breaks out. Okay, so moments before the Diet Freedom Fighters came in for the save, Sonic gave this corny, and I mean really corny ass speech before getting dissected, talking about his friends and whatnot. For those of you who are above the drinking age of where you live, take a shot every time Sonic says friends in this series. I guarantee you that your liver will be a giant raisin by the end of the first season, and you'll end up in a hospital bed by the time this whole series is ended. Despite all that, the backstory of the Diet Freedom Fighters, the testing Sonic was going through, and the fight afterwards was pretty enjoyable. This was a pretty decent episode.
Episode 3.
As soon as the fight started, the Chaos Council retreated in anger in a scene where baby Eggman is essentially running like a dog. That looked so weird to me. After the fight concludes, Sonic and crew, along with Rusty Rose, who's been hacked by Nine, decides to escape. However, Nine suggests that the best way to take down the Chaos Council is to steal the power shard they possess, the object mainly responsible for making New York possible, which we then later learn is one of the pieces of the Paradox Prism. The main portion of this episode is Team Sonic trying to locate the shard, while Dr. Yoga and Dr. I'm Annoying as Fuck tries to stop them in their respective mechs. Keyword try, because Team Sonic essentially sent them both packing. The crew eventually find the shard thanks to Sonic's Sketchers being connected to the shard's energy. But then, Rusty, Rebel, and Nux are captured by Mr. Dr. Eggman in his mech. Yes, the main leader of the Chaos Council is called Mr. Dr. Eggman. Rebel encourages Sonic to focus on the mission and escaping with the shard instead of helping them. What's interesting about this scene is how both Sonic and Nine react to the others getting captured. Sonic wants to save them, not even giving it a second thought, but Nine only worries about getting the shard. You can easily tell what both characters truly value in this scene alone, especially Nine for what he did or didn't do to the captured trio after Sonic is warped into a new world once he touches the shard.
Episode 4.
Sonic falls into a brand new world and gets some fresh new gear. I like that his gear matches up with whatever world he's in, and they each have their own abilities tied to that world. Sonic then gets introduced to Jungle Rouge, Knuckles, and Big, but Sonic is slowly realizing that they're different versions of his friends. Someone please get this guy some glasses. I mean, I'd give him mine, but whew, man. These things were fucking expensive. Sonic then pleads with the Jungle Crew if they've seen a shard of the Paradox Prism. Jungle Rouge claims that they have, but wants Sonic to do her a little favor. No. Get that out of your head. This is a Christian channel, okay? No dirty thoughts. Sonic then goes below to deal with a monster that's been causing issues with the Jungle Crew. I like the detail of Sonic not being able to run as fast as he wants because of how little space there is in the forest. Sonic then confronts the monster's giant chicken and the monster herself, Thorn Rose. The two end up fighting. It's more of a one-sided fight on Thorn Rose's part because Sonic doesn't want to hurt his friends. Come on guys, cut him some slack. Sonic pleads with Thorn that he's only here to find the shard. Thorn begrudgingly decides to help him out, and they both find the shard underneath the Great Green. During their interaction, we get a okay backstory of Thorn and how everyone is greedy and why she's protecting the jungle. Sonic then finds the shard, but wait a minute, he learns from last time and decides not to touch it, wrapping it around a leaf instead. Oh, isn't that nice? He's growing up so fast. Not fast enough though, as Thorn Rose turns on Sonic and then links the shard with her hammer. Who could have seen that coming? Honestly, this was a pretty average episode to me.
Episode 5.
Wait a minute. Is this that one episode where Sonic does that corny ass speech? That one episode where people keep on comparing this show to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse? The one scene where Sonic Prime is unfortunately mostly known for? Yes it is, folks. This is the episode. And honestly, rewatching this scene again made me want to get hit by a car. I mean, like, what else can I say about this episode? Sonic gathers up all the jungle people, and in the end they come to an understanding and then they make up. The episode ends with Sonic accidentally touching the shard and gets sent back to New York. I kid you not, this episode just felt like a giant cringe nothing burger. One positive thing I'd say about this episode is the irony of what Thorn Rose was originally trying to accomplish. She was trying to protect the forest from the rest of the scavengers, but in doing so, she shielded her friends and the sunlight the plants needed to grow. That was honestly a good bit of irony there. Other than that though, this episode just flat out sucks.
Episode 6.
So Sonic is back in New York and meets up with the Diet Freedom Fighters again. So what exactly happened during Sonic's absence? Well, Nine took the shard for himself, and to think everyone who helped him getting there, he left them high and dry. The Diet Freedom Fighters retreated and Rusty Rose reverted back to her original programming, serving the Chaos Council. Now, a normal person would be rightfully angry for what Nine did, but Sonic, being the ignorant clown that he is, defends Nine, even though at this point he's fully aware it's a different version of Tails. Someone please knock some sense into this guy. Sonic explains his entire time during the Jungle World to the Diet Freedom Fighters, while Rusty Rose from the distance records their entire conversation and reports it to the Chaos Council. Upon reviewing, the council now wants to capture Sonic to get all the answers about where they can find more shards. Makes sense given that he's connected to them. The council then finds the Resistance hideout, leading to a giant brawl between them. Nine in a spacecraft comes out of a portal out of nowhere to essentially join the fight. Oh sweet, he did come back. He's gonna fight and back us up. Oh, he's only here for Sonic, and they both escaped to New York together. Good luck fighting the Chaos Council though. Nine then shows Sonic and us, the audience, a proper look at the Shatter Space. The space where Sonic has essentially been flying through since he shattered the Paradox Prism. The two then arrives in a brand new world where Nine calls it the Grim. Nine sees the Grim as a fresh start, a brand new start to his life, and he wants Sonic to join alongside him. But this fresh start Nine is so hooked on about comes at the cost of the Diet Freedom Fighters, who wants to take back the world that was taken from them by the Chaos Council. Sonic and Nine have a little disagreement about this, and to his request, sends Sonic back to New York. Sonic left a good impression on Nine as he eventually comes back to back up Sonic and the Resistance. Unfortunately for Nine, he gets caught by the Chaos Council and is now being held prisoner. And if that wasn't bad enough, they essentially get their shard back from him. This episode blew the last two out of the water. It introduced me to the Shatter Space, had decent character interactions, and a small seed into Nine's motivations with what he wants to accomplish with the Grim. And we left off on a great cliffhanger.
Episode 7.
Alright, we're back where we left off. Nine being captured by the Chaos Council. Chaos Council getting their shard back. My excitement levels are just through the roof right now. Oh man. Sonic then runs over to where Nine is being captured, running as fast as he can so he can say, wait, what? Sonic got warped into another world. Wait, what? This world has pirates. Wait, what?
His name is Luffy. That's Monkey D. Luffy. King of the pirates. Face made a rubble. How did that happen? Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum.
Okay, seriously, this shit pissed me off back when it first aired and again while reviewing it for this video. Why would you have a good episode like episode 6 and end it in such an interesting cliffhanger only to have a giant sharp turn at the beginning of this one? It legit, no pun intended, sucked the wind out of my sails. Like, all my interest gone at the beginning of this new episode. And the funny thing is, this is the second time they've done this within the first season. Sonic and Nine had the shard right for the taking, only for Sonic to fall into the zoo and then try to teach a lesson about friendship and sharing to a bunch of savages. I can't believe this was done twice within the same season. Blah 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 blah, Sonic meets some pirates, blah 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 blah, Dread is the leader of the pirate crew, blah 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 blah, they throw a party, meanwhile I'm tapping my foot with enough force to cause an earthquake, waiting to go back to where we left off before this episode started. Blah 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 blah, the Devil's Lighthouse, blah 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 blah, another shard, they head towards this location and out of nowhere, Rusty Rose with a ship of Batniks randomly show up to stop them, ending this headache-inducing episode.
Episode 8.
Finally, after 22 minutes, we're somewhat back to where we left off at the end of episode 6. Nine is being held prisoner by the Chaos Council, forced to do their bidding. Meanwhile, in the One Piece world, Sonic once again tries to reason with Rusty Rose. At this point, I'm sick and tired of Sonic trying to reason with the characters that look like his friends. The rest of this episode can be summed up as a race for the shard located at the Devil's Lighthouse. Dredd gets his hands on the shard first, and he has a crazy look in his face. Sonic, being the silly little goose that he is, once again accidentally touches the shard and is sent flying into the shatter space. While going through the shatter space, Shadow stops Sonic in his tracks, closing out the first season. Episode 8 was okay, but this season as a whole was a hit or miss for me. Like, when things got interesting, I was glued to my screen, but when things got bad, I wanted to glue my ass to some train tracks.
Episode 9.
We get a flashback of Shadow using Chaos Control at the same time the Paradox Prism was being broken into pieces. Afterwards, Shadow accidentally drops the gem into the deep black void of the Shatter Space. I hope you got a good look at that Chaos Emerald because we're not seeing that thing until the end of the series. After giving Sonic a much deserved beatdown, Shadow explains to Sonic what's happened to their home and everything he can conclude about the Shatter Space. For whatever reason, Shadow can't go through the gates himself. I mean, I think it's pretty clear why he can't go through the gates. He also explains that by going really fast, Sonic can thin the veil to the void and he can go through the gateway without touching the Paradox Prism, which explains what happened to him at the beginning of episode 7. Afterwards, Shadow takes Sonic home to Green Hill. Finally, Sonic is back home with his friends and they live happily ever after. But just one problem. Sonic's home in its current state is nothing more than a shell of what it once was. I like the muted colors here. It really does hammer home the vast emptiness of what was once the colorful, vibrant nature of Green Hill. This scene makes Sonic look vulnerable, regretting the action he's made about breaking the Paradox Prism and wanting to do what he can to fix it. It makes him feel like a believable character, unlike making him a boring, perfect character with zero flaws or weaknesses. There is still a chance to make things right. Shadow then brings Sonic to where the Paradox Prism was broken, with it being nothing more than an outline of what it once was, except for one real shard sticking out. He predicts that if they can get the other shards and then put them back to where they once were, everything could go back to normal. Or things could get instantly much worse, but hey, that's a coin flip of a chance now, isn't it? Sonic is all in for this plan and he wants to include 9, but Shadow immediately shuts that idea down. Why is Shadow against that proposal? Because to him, 9 can't be trusted, which I totally agree with. He's showcased multiple times in the show that he only cares about himself. What's Sonic's response to this? He naively defends 9. I'm sure that won't backfire on him. Frustrated that he's defending 9 and that he's the whole reason their world is broken to begin with, Shadow fights Sonic and then takes the tech 9 built for him. It's a very good back and forth fight. It's easily the best fight of the show so far. Eventually, Shadow escapes with Sonic's tech up the mountain. Sonic tries to escape the mountain like Shadow, but he can't muster up enough speed because of the unstable energy within him. As he's slowly falling back down, he remembers what Shadow said about picking up enough speed to go through the gates. As he's descending down the mountain, Sonic quickly builds up enough speed to go through the gate and then catches up to Shadow. As they continue to fight in the Shatter Space, the Chaos Council in their large ship breaks through the gate of their own world and then heads to the Boss Cage maze, as they're on the hunt for more shards that they can find. Shadow tries to go through one of the gates, but it denies them. Gee, I wonder why. Afterwards, Shadow comes to notice that the tech isn't the key to get through the worlds, but Sonic himself is, since he's connected to the Paradox Prism. They come to terms with each other and agree to work together to repair their world. Sonic heads towards the Boss Cage maze where the Chaos Council is located, ending the episode. This was a pretty decent episode to kick off the second season. We got a good fight scene with Sonic and Shadow. We have a clear understanding of how Sonic and Shadow can repair their world, and there'll be some interesting conflict with Sonic and the Chaos Council since they both want the shards for completely different reasons.
Episode 10.
Half of the Eggman Council is on the search for the next shard, and 9 is forced to help back on the ship while being monitored. I guess he's doing IT work. I don't know what he's specifically doing. I mean, it's obvious that Nine is going to betray them, but he's just playing along at the moment. The council decides to rip the forest apart to find the shard. Luckily, Sonic isn't far behind and makes his presence known to the council by taking down a bunch of badniks. Meanwhile, Nine sees this as a great opportunity to find a way to contact Sonic without being caught. Sonic meets up with the Savages again and tries to convince them to fight alongside him and Thorn. However, to no success, with Jungle Rouge's reasoning being, and I quote, "We're just trying to survive. They're here for the shard, not us. All Thorn has to do is hand it over and they'll go." Honestly, her reasoning makes sense in the moment. Keywords in the moment, because the long-term goal of the Eggman Council is to take over every world that's within the Shatter Space, including the Boss Cage maze. Sonic rushes into the forest again to fight alongside Thorn as they take on baby Eggman's mech and more Batniks. One of the Batniks detects that the shard is inside the bird. Let's hope for everyone's sake that that shard comes out of the beak. Thorn quickly notices this, so both her and her ostrich flies off with baby Eggman and the Batniks chasing them down. Afterward, Nine, through hacking one of the beaten down Batniks, catches up with Sonic and gives them a few new upgrades to Sonic's tech. Now they can communicate with each other and the shards won't teleport Sonic once he touches them. Solid stuff. We get another back and forth fight between the two sides, with the council eventually getting a second shard in their possession and leaving the Boss Cage maze. With the help of Thorn, Sonic escapes the Boss Cage maze to chase down the council as they head to the One Piece world. Capping off, I'd say another pretty good episode.
Episode 11.
The other half of the Chaos Council, the Baby Boomer and the Yoga Guy, arrive in the pirate world. They have a much quicker time finding the shard by locating the imprisoned Rusty Rose on Dred's ship. Honestly, that was a pretty smart play on their part. They made quick work of Dred's crew and easily captured the shard, purposely leaving Rusty Rose behind. I am loyal to the Chaos Council. As smart as he is, I don't think Eggman knows the meaning of the word loyalty. Maybe he does, but he just doesn't give a shit. Having to cope with being tossed aside like a used soda can, Rusty Rose teams up with the pirates. It's not long until Sonic meets up with the pirates again and they go after the Chaos Council. What follows for the rest of the episode is a game of capture the flag with the shard, during which Dred tricks his crew into thinking that Sonic has turned his back on them. And this average episode comes to a close with Sonic, with a shard in hand, being cornered by Dred's crew.
Episode 12.
Okay, we're playing another game of Capture the Flag, with this game being not as entertaining as the one we saw in the last episode. Dred shows his true colors by abandoning his crew, while Sonic bats up the pirates as they're being attacked by the Chaos Council. In the process of all this, they realize that Sonic was never a traitor, but Dred was, only caring about the shard. The Chaos Council eventually takes back the shard and heads back to New York, ending this below average episode. Okay, so before I go on to the next episode, there was one scene in this episode that made me yet again question the writing of this show. So for context, the Chaos Council's main ship is sitting around in the Shatter Space. One group stays on the main ship and the other group takes a mini ship to search for the shards in the other worlds. Do you know who else is sitting around in the Shatter Space? Shadow. There's a scene where Shadow is wrecking parts of the main ship from the outside. Oh, okay, well this is interesting. Is Shadow going to break into the ship and fight the Chaos Council? Will he run into Nine and potentially set him free? Nope. The Batniks repair the ship with ease and then they leave the Shatter Space. Meanwhile, Shadow looks on in anger, looking like a total duck. You can't expect me to believe that a character like Shadow would just stand around and let them escape without putting up a fight first. It's not like Shadow had any trouble taking on those Batniks either. He could have done way more damage to the Council's plan. He could have been used as a great diversion while Sonic had his hands full in the pirate world. This scene could have provided so much more than it did. This was just another instance of sloppy writing in the show to me. Speaking of which,
Episode 13.
alright, so let me ask you, the viewer, a question. While all 5 versions of Eggman are on the hunt for shards, who's watching over New York to make sure that a rebellion doesn't happen? Having a tough time guessing who? Exactly, because the answer is no one. Minutes into episode 13, we see the citizens of New York running around trashing powered down Batniks and enjoying their freedom. But it's not long before the Chaos Council returns and takes back the city with ease. Okay, so first of all, how careless and dumb does it make the Chaos Council for them to just leave their entire empire unsupervised? I feel like Eggman is too smart to make a mistake that dumb. You could argue that they were all blinded by the possibility of having more shards at their disposal, I don't mind that counter argument, but it could have been done in a way that didn't make the council look so negligent. It's like buying that one car you've worked your whole life to get, and then one day you left the car door open with the keys inside because you wanted to get the last Nintendo Switch 2 console they had in stock at GameStop. How stupid can you be? Second of all, how incompetent does this make the Diet Freedom Fighters look? The Chaos Council left their entire empire with no supervision and all of their Batniks offline. They can use this opportunity to infiltrate the main tower of the city and demolish it, not only as a safety precaution in case they come back, but also as a sign of defiance for taking away their freedom. They weren't gone for 5 minutes, and it's not like they had the shards handed to them on a silver platter. They had to go through a bunch of speed bumps for multiple episodes before returning to New York. They left New York at the end of episode 9 and returned at the start of episode 13. They could have been gone for an hour, and it could have been enough time for them to at least do some damage to the main tower of the city. But instead, they were just twiddling their thumbs up their asses. Like, maximize your minutes, guys. Seriously. Anyways, 9 indirectly gives the Chaos Council the idea of Chaos Sonic, who shows up at the end of this frustrating episode.
Episode 14.
You know, a metal version of Sonic is a cool idea. You know, I think Sega should follow in the footsteps of Sonic Prime and make their own robot version of Sonic. Sonic and Diet Metal Sonic have a little playdate in the city, with Sonic consistently being annoyed by Diet Metal Sonic's attitude. Trust me, he's not the only one. This guy talks way too much for my liking. Back at the tower, the Eggman plan to expand their empire in all the other worlds in the Shatter Space. 9 warns them that using the shards to this extent could have serious consequences, but they don't listen to him. I honestly like this flaw in Eggman's character. He wants to conquer everything he can get a reach on, but because of his selfish mindset, it could lead to his demise. As they're opening more portals to each world, a small ripple in time and space occurs, proving 9's theory correct and showcasing Eggman's flaw to great effect. The council detects 2 more shards within the Shatter Space, and you bet your ass they're gonna go after them. 9 then escapes from imprisonment in a cool little scene showcasing his skills with his metal tails. Back to the Hedgehog's playdate, 9 helps Sonic defeat Diet Metal Sonic with the power of the shards. Honestly, I swear with how much this annoying shithead talked, I thought he lasted for like 5 more episodes. Rest in piss. The episode ends with Sonic and 9 taking the shards from the Chaos Council. This was a fine episode.
Episode 15.
So, remember when I said that the Chaos Council detected 2 more shards within the Shatter Space? Well, we know one of them is back at Green Hill, but where's the other? Well, it's back at the Grim, where 9 found it, and a nice little flashback of him experimenting with it. Do you know what else is nice? Playing another game of Capture the Flag with the shards. Actually, it's more of a game of tag, as Sonic and 9 go through many portals with the shards, with Batniks chasing them. Eventually, the duo gives them the slip and they head for Green Hill alongside with Shadow. Once they arrive, 9 is tasked with the difficult procedure of placing the shards back into place to complete the Paradox Prism. Shadow still has trust issues with 9, with him saying, and I quote, "I don't think your friend wants the same thing we do," in reference to Sonic and Shadow trying to restore their world. And once again, Sonic is all up on 9's cock, defending him. Man, his knees must be really sore. The episode ends with the Chaos Council somehow finding them, I guess? I guess they invented some sort of shard tracker, I guess? I don't know. It just seems like plot convenience to me.
Episode 16.
Sonic and Shadow buy 9 some time and fight off any and all Batniks the Chaos Council is throwing out of their ship. The Batniks give the duo some trouble, so 9 gives Sonic a power boost with the energy from the Paradox Prism. What follows next is a cool scene of Sonic using his new powers with some cool After Effect images. The Chaos Council, with the stored up shard energy they have left on their ship, makes a Titan Eggman and it heads straight for the top of the mountain where 9 is. 9 gives Sonic yet another power boost and Sonic goes Super Saiyan Ego, I guess? Shouts out to Dragon Ball Super, and Sonic takes down the Titan with one blow. I'll be honest, the fighting in this episode hasn't been the best in terms of keeping me engaged. 9 almost has the prison completed, but remember, the final piece is in the Grim. Sonic wants to restore his world, while 9 wants to build a new world in the Grim. It's so weird because I thought we could trust 9, right Sonic? Apparently not, because 9 just takes the shards and goes back to the Grim. The last 3 minutes of this episode was pretty good, but overall, I thought this episode was pretty average.
Episode 17.
Nine has all 5 pieces of the Paradox Prism and uses it to transform the Grim. In doing so, he's decaying all the other worlds within the Shatter Space. Back at Green Hill, Sonic and Shadow make a break for it as Green Hill is being decayed itself. Beforehand, Sonic tries to save his friends who are nothing more than repeat ghosts of themselves in this world. I'm not against a scene of Sonic reminiscing his time with his friends, but the execution here felt weird. What can Sonic do for them at this point? Like, the best thing he can do is write a eulogy for them. Anyways, the Hedgehogs track down Nine in the Grim. Luckily for Shadow, he's found a loophole to enter the worlds because of their decaying state. Take that, racism. Sonic makes another desperate, latch-ditch effort to reason with Nine. This is just beyond the point of repetitive. This is just flat out annoying. What a surprise. Nine doesn't want to reason with them as he makes a new and more powerful Chaos Sonic, one that thankfully doesn't talk. Shadow and Sonic make quick work of it as Nine creates more robots for them to fight. Shadow realizes that Nine is after Sonic since he's connected to the Paradox Prism. And while Nine has put the pieces back together, it can't be used to its full extent because Sonic has the remaining energy within him. So in a heroic effort, Shadow sends Sonic flying out of the Grim and gets reunited with Maria by getting buried 6 feet under by the robots, ending this pretty average episode.
Episode 18.
Sonic heads for New York as Nine sends a bunch of metal birds to hunt him down. It's honestly a boring chase scene as Sonic makes his way to the tower. Why the Egg Tower? Well, as the Diet Freedom Fighters put it, it's the only safe place in New York during this crisis. Once Sonic gets to the tower, the Chaos Council backs him up as they fight off Nine's robots. It was cool seeing them work together, and this partnership is going to continue as Sonic and the Chaos Council made a little deal with each other. Sonic gives the Chaos Council the energy flowing inside of them to create a dome to protect them from Nine, and in return, they provide sanctuary for everyone in New York and everyone else in the other worlds. I guess this is a perfect example of equivalent exchange. It's a good deal as they need each other to even stand a chance against Nine. Overall, this was a below average episode.
Episode 19.
I'll be honest, nothing much happens in this episode, at least in terms of the main plot. The only thing worth mentioning in this episode is that Sonic is willing to give himself up to Nine if he agrees to leave everyone else unharmed and to restore their worlds to what they were. Nine agrees to Sonic's terms and makes a warp portal for Sonic to arrive in the Grim. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but for everything Nine has done in this series, Sonic still somehow trusts him? I'm honestly about to throw in the white towel at this point. The episode ends with the Chaos Council and all of Sonic's friends coming to the Grim as well to fight Nine, much to Sonic's surprise. Another below average episode.
Episode 20.
This episode can be summed up as one long boring fight between Sonic's team and Nine's robots. On to the next one.
Episode 21.
This episode can be summed up as one long boring fight between Sonic's team and Nine's robots. The only difference being this time is that Shadow comes back from the dead. Unfortunately, not even Shadow can make this fight entertaining.
Episode 22.
This episode can be summed up as one long boring... I'm starting to sense a theme here. Sonic and Nine fight each other on the top of the tower. Rubble Nux shortly gets there himself to back up Sonic. It's honestly the most entertaining fight in the season, but that's not saying much. And I honestly can't say much about this episode. It's legit just one giant repetitive mess.
Episode 23.
23 episodes and it feels like 100. Sonic finally convinces Nine to understand and stop his madness. All that cocksucking finally paid off. However, it's the point of no return, and the damage Nine caused to the Shatter Space is irreversible at this point. Well, not if Sonic has anything to say about that, as he sacrifices all the energy he has to finally make the Paradox Prism whole again. Sonic looks as pale as a ghost afterward, much like myself after watching 23 episodes of this. However, the Chaos Council double crosses them, and they try to take the Paradox Prism for themselves, but through some, I would say, artificial bickering between the 5, they start fighting each other. As they're all fighting, Nine makes a portal to the Shatter Space and they all get sent packing there thanks to Sonic's pals. With the worlds reformed, Sonic and Shadow try to return to their world in time before Sonic disappears forever. Thankfully, they return in time, specifically the time frame before Sonic broke the prism. Shadow uses Chaos Control to warp the prism somewhere? It's not really explained where the hell he went with it. Sonic reunites with his friends and they live happily ever after. This show fucking killed me in more ways than one. I'm taking a nap. Sonic Prime? More like Sonic wasting my time. Okay, seriously, this show gave me multiple headaches, man. That's the best I can come up with. Given my attitude as I reviewed each episode, you're probably expecting me to trash it during this conclusion part of the video. Well, to be honest, I'm not going to do that, as I've basically done that for the past however long this video is. If anything, I'd rather talk about how this show could have been better. You know what? That sounds much better. A dedicated video, Sonic Prime, talking about the flaws it had and trying to improve upon them. That sounds way more interesting. But those are my thoughts about Sonic Prime. What were your thoughts about Sonic Prime? Did you like the show? Hate it? Tell me in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.